Hello guys and welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Metasploit Framework as part of penetration testing. And the phases that we're going to focus on this video is going to be exploitation and post-exploitation. I'm not going to go through the evasion or stealthy exploitations. That's for more advanced level that is not about this video. I can do that on the next video, other videos. In this video, I'm just going to go through and show you the basic way how to use Metasploit when you're able to perform an exploitations and post-exploitation for privilege escalation. As you can see from the video, I have Windows 10 on my left. This is the target machine, the target I will be up against. And to the right, I have my Kali Linux that I will use in order to me to perform the attacks. If some of you don't know what Metasploit Framework is, an open source used for penetration testing and exploitation framework that is used by every penetration tester and security researchers worldwide. It provides penetration tester with a very strong infrastructure required in order to automate every stage of penetration testing life cycle. Metasploit framework is designed to be modular and allow for new functionality to be implemented with simplicity. It simplified pen testing methodologies such as information gathering, enumerations, exploitation, post exploitations. So what we will do here is that before even I continue this as disclaimer, this video is for educational purpose only. It's only for educational, not taking to do any harmful things. Now, I have already disabled the Windows Defender that comes within Windows 10 because otherwise it's immediately going to detect the payload from MS Venom and the attacks will not work. Okay. The truth about this attack is that you have to be on the same local system, the same local network, and you have to perform some social engineering techniques, including evasion techniques. Now, this is just to show you how to use Metasploit, how to familiarize with Metasploit. Then on the other sections of video, I can show you how to perform more about evasions and stealthy attack in order to avoid antiviruses. Well, let's now stay on this video, and we can start you know with starting the Metasploit. I always love to start Metasploit using the service PostgreSQL service. PostgreSQL is going to enable the Metasploit database in order to cache everything that we are doing in Metasploit. So if we build a workspace and we finish to do some attack or enumerations to a particular target, it will save and stay cached. And so by the time we go back to Metasploit and we go back to the workspace, all the information will be there so we don't have to repeat anything. So I'm going to type service PostgreSQL start. It's going to prompt a password, so you guys have to provide your own password for Kali Linux machine. And then MSF console. I'm going to use the dash Q to remove the banner that comes within the Metasploit, even though it looks cool. I just don't need it. Just give it a little time. Okay, we're good. Now, if I type workspace, you can see we only have the default workspace, but if I type workspace dash H for command, we have dash A to add a workspace, dash D to delete the workspace, and so on. So what we're going to do, I'm going to type workspace dash A, and I'm going to call it Win 10 because I know I'm up against Windows 10. Okay. Now, I'm not going to show you the enumerations, how to do these, and how to find, how to exploit it. This is just exploitation, post-exploitation, privilege escalations, using Metasploit and MSF Venom to perform a malicious payload of arbitrary code out of a shell. Okay, so with that in mind, now we have Metasploit open, and we can go back to open up a new terminal, and we're going to start our MSF Venom. Now with MSF Venom, okay, we can do -h, and it's going to show you all different commands that you can use, including encoder in order to be stealthy, and so on and so forth. There's also MSF Venom. If you want to check different lists of payloads, you can check different lists of payloads. If you want to check different list um, of encoders in case you want to you want to look at the encoders, but in this case those are different payloads. We have stage payloads and stageless payload, known stage payload. Okay, we're going to use the stage payload, and I'm going to show you what stage payload is and what means about stage payload. But also the formats is very important to look up too. Also, MSF Venom formats. This is a list of formats that you can use when you perform when you create a payload within MS Venom. We can use the ASP aspects, DLLR, executable, JAR, GSP, JSON, all variety of different type of formats for executable formats that we can use if we are up against iPhone, Android, macOS X, Debian, Linux, and so forth. In this case, we are up against the Windows, so I'm going to use MS Venom dash A, the architecture in this case is 64-bit, so we put dash A, and then dash B for the payload, and it's going to be Windows x64, because this is not a 32-bit, interpreter, and then reverse TCP. This is the actually is a staged payload. Every time you see it, forward slash metasploit forward slash reverse TCP or reverse HTTP or anything is always being considered staged. Unstaged or stageless, non-staged is going to be like x64 and then metasploit lower dash something else. Okay. Now we're going to specify the LOST. The LOS, we're going to provide the LOS, which is the IP address of your Kali Linux. To find out your IP address, you type if config under the eth0 or eth1, mine in this case eth0 or internet 0, 192.168.147. So we're going to go back and type 192.168.1.47 and then L port. In this case, I'm going to simplify with 1, 2, 3, 4. You can put 443 to be stealthy. But again, this video is not about to be stealthy. Just show you how to perform this attack if you're in a local system. And then, you know, and then we're going to save these five formats into an executable, and we're going to name it payload x64. Press enter. We're going to wait a little bit until that payload is being completed. If you do ls, we can see that we have the payload. This is ready. We need to transfer this payload to our victim machine. Before we do that, I'm going to use the listener. Now, this is going to be the metadata listening. Until we do not let the user or the victim executing the payload, there's not going to be metacrustation. Similarly with netcat, we can use netcat as well. If we want to, we can use netcat, but Meterpret is very powerful and more stealthy than netcat. That's why a lot of right operator teamers are using Meterpret. But so what we're going to do in order to use that payload, we're going to use the use exploit multi-handler module. If I type options, is asking me that I need to provide the LOS, in this case the IP address of my local system of Kali Linux, the L port that I use to perform these, that I use on these, in this case that I built with this payload is 1234, and then set a payload. See, the payload is not being set just yet. This is generic shell reverse TCP, but we actually use the Windows x64. So let's start with set the host. In this case, it's going to be 192.168.1.47. And then we're going to set the L port, which is 1234. And then we're going to set payload, which is again Windows x64 metasploit reverse TCP, and we can run this. Now you can see start reverse TCP handler is waiting for the victim to execute the actual payload. We're going to go back and we see that we have it right on in the directory home Kali desktop. So I'm going to now use the Python to build an HTTP server in order to open up an HTTP and then transfer that file through the Python. So I'm going to type sudo python 3 -m http -server sorry, on port 8000, and the password, and now we are listening on 8000 using Python. Back to the victim machine now. There's one way that we can do this. We can basically transfer this file using the set utility tools, which is already pre-built by Windows, and it's basically uploading and transferring file as if it was like, VJAT or something like that. But it's the pre-built tool in Windows. And again, there's going to be social engineering techniques the user is going to fall for. In this case, we just simplify things. Set utility, and then cache, HTTP, in this case, is going to be the attacker machine, in this case, 168.1.47. And we're going to also specify the actual port that is listing right now, 8000. And we're going to look up the payload x64, payload x64 executable. And we're going to rename it this to pay, just to simplify payload. Let's enter. And this is gonna immediately successfully save it under the desktop. As you can see, we have a payload. This is a malicious payload. Now we need to also, okay, that's fine. So we done this one successfully. Just clear up this. And let's go back here. You can see that Meterpreter is waiting for sessions. The reverse TCP handler is just waiting to hear back. Let's say the user fall for it, execute it, double click the executions, and in no time we have a Meterpreter sessions. If I do sysinfo, you can see we have been able to connect to our target machine that is a Windows 10 at 64-bit. And if I do get UID, we are actually the admin. Cool, we are the admin. So let me check the previews. If you check the get previews, it's going to show you a different type of privilege that this user is able to do. In this case, there is very few. That means he's not going to be able to perform any elevated privilege. The reason is because the user, it double click, but the USC or the security pop-up message that say run this as administrator didn't show up. This is just like an executable payload without just execute it. And so the admin user, in this case the victim, can execute it without administrative privilege. So is that this user able to be part of the administrative group? We need to check if he's part of the, if is member of the administrative group, so the local group's administrators. If he is member of the local group's administrator, then we might have a leverage to perform an elevator privilege using Metasploit. Now, if I do help command, you can see there is a get system which attempts to elevate your privilege to that local system. Usually this 90% of time never works. Unless, once again, in this case, let's say the admin user, the victim is clicking this executable running the administrative privilege. Okay, so if I do get system, you can see the impersonation failed, everything failed, nothing was successful. So how are we going to do now? How do we perform a privilege escalations? Well, that is important to do. There is a beautiful module pre-built in Metasploit that is called local exploit suggester. Okay, this local exploit suggester is going to go through and is a post-exploitations. We already have a sessions in Metasploit. We're successfully able to reverse shell. So I'm going to click Control plus X. When you do Control or CTRL plus X, it's going to tell you background session. Say yes. Now I'm going to clear up and I'm going to type sessions. As you can see, we have open the Meterpreter session is still open. We're still, if I type session, in this case, ID 1, we are back to Meterpreter, okay? So let's get out, background, clear sessions again, and here we are again. So I'm going to use this module. I'm going to use these modules called excuse me, this is my dog, post multi recurrent local exploit suggestor, which is the module that we're going to use. Now, when we look at the options, because this is a post, is already expecting you to have an open session. So that's why the only things we need to provide is the sessions. We're going to type set session and then number 1, and then run this. It's going to go through 2,404 different exploit. Perhaps only 45, 50 are going to be detected for this specific target system. And maybe in these 45 or 50, only 10 or 5 are going to be considered vulnerable to this particular system. And even those 5 that are considered to be vulnerable, maybe something is not working. And so we need to do more enumerations. So it's very important to understand the vulnerability behind, especially when we look at and we know that we found something, we need to analyze the vulnerability. It's very important, such as important the enumerations. Now, for the sake of this video, I haven't done enumerations. As I told you, this is more like exploitation and post-exploitation. But let's check out this. So we got 1 to 45 different vulnerability, and from 6 to 45 have been not, the target is not exploitable, so we can exclude those 6 to 45. But from 1 to 5, the actual target seems to be appearing to be vulnerable. Let's check this number 5, which is say exploit Windows local within the Windows Error CD 2023 36864. You can Google this CVE, this common vulnerability, and it's a very recent one from 2023. So it might be really good. So we're gonna do use, copy the whole name and paste it. And then rather than just execute the module, we're gonna click info, we're gonna type info because it's important to understand what this vulnerability is and what this is gonna do. Okay. Because this might and might not work. Even just to say the target is vulnerable, it maybe it's not gonna work for the specific user that we are at. Okay. So it's telling me, let the scripture say this module takes advantage of a bug in the way Windows Error reporting opens. The report, if you open a report window, use a relative path to locate the rendering program. By creating a specific alternate directory structure, we can coerce Windows into opening arbitrary executable as a system. If the current user is a local admin, the system will attempt impersonations and therefore the exploit will fail. Okay, this is a red flag right here. If the local admin, if the user actually local admin, this will fail. Now, I don't remember if the user that we are up against is actually in the local admin. One thing that we can do, we can do sessions one. We're going to go back to our interpreter, and then I'm going to type shell. This will prompt the actual shell as if we are in a command line, okay? And I'm going to type net local group administrator. Is this a matter of, okay, sorry, net local might be groups, administrators. Okay, gotcha. So it's net local group administrator. All right, we got it. We can see that the target that we are up against, the victim, is admin, and he's a member of the administrative group. So in this case, this vulnerability, as it says right here, if the current user is local admin, the system will attempt impersonation and the exploit will fail. Indeed, this might fail. This definitely will fail because again, the user we are up against is part of the admin group. And so we can just exclude this, exit, Control Z. And what we're going to do, we're going to use a different payload. So we're going to scroll up and we can exclude this one. This is definitely a red flag again. This one, it doesn't interest me. Exploit Windows local bypass the USC SDCLT. Now, the USC is the prompt message when there is an executable in installation, something that can change the operating system. It comes from Windows Vista features. Since then, it's been used by Windows Vista 7 until this very present Windows 11. Basically, it tells you run as administrator or provide a password as administration. This could bypass it because the user that we are up against is actually in the admin groups. This might work. So let's copy this one and say use. Let's type use, paste the name of the module in the clear app, and we're going to type info. We're going to check this is the Windows Escalate USC protection bypass. This module will bypass the window USC by hijacking a special key in the registry under the current user Hive and inserting a custom command that will get involved. When window backup restore is launched, it will spawn a second shell. It has the USC flag turned off. This module modifies a register key, but cleans up the key once the payload is being invoked. This is awesome. This is a very stealthy type of module because it cleans up everything automatically. Let's try this. So we're going to type options. We're going to set sessions that we already know, sessions one. And we're just going to run it because the LOS is perfect. L port is 444. It's not going to interfere with the sessions one of port 1234. So let's run it. It's going to go through. It's going to try to bypass. And in no time, we were able to have an interpreter sessions bypassing the USC. So now if I do get UID, I'm still the admin. If I do get create, I have now all the different privilege because basically it bypassed the USC. So if I now use the get system to automatically elevate my privilege from administrative to anti-authority, which is the top-notch uh, elevated privilege in a Windows operating system, it will go through that in personalizations. And if I do it again at UND, we would successfully obtain the anti-authority system. And from here, I can do the hash dump that comes within the interpreter, able to dump all the hashes from admin, administrator, Bob, or I can even load Kiwi, which is the Mimikatz that is, if I do help, is going to allow me to give some Kiwi command, including dumping the SAM database cache, all the hashes, NTLM, syskey, header rows, all the different keys, hashes that comes with all the different users they have, in this case, against this target machine. So if I type that, it's going to go through. Now we have the Bob NTLM hash. I can copy this NTLM, try to crack it with, uh, you know, um, John the Ripper or Ashcat or whatever tool you like the best. And if it's the password is lack of strength and severity and complexity, it's going to be an easy way to crack that. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to show you how to crack the password or the hashes, but this was the overall way of performing an exploitations using Metasploit and also performing a post-exploitation or privilege escalation using Metasploit. Hopefully this was a useful video for you guys, and I'll see you on the next. Bye.